Hello, hello. It's Bethany. I'm so excited that you're here. We are nearing the end of this beloved sales series. This is week 9, and we've got one more left after this. So I'm going to be so sad. Nearing the end of this. I do that every week. I should really just put a post it note up there. Sorry. Anyway, I want to get started with one of my um this was something that somebody helped me realize in my business, and it shifted everything. And I know I might say that a lot, but this was pretty profound. And it made me realize that if I continued to play the game the way I was playing it, I would never win. It just wasn't going to happen. And I want to share that experience and knowledge with you. So if you are playing the same game on the same level that I was playing, thinking I was doing the right things, then you don't have to suffer and do that on your own. So let me start by explaining or introducing a game that you may or may not know called Whack-A-Mole. And Whack-A-Mole was this game that I would play. I used to get a dollar allowance every week for what I felt like were Cinderella level chores, like just too much, man. I felt like it was not fair for a child to have so many chores. I'm sure in retrospect, it wasn't a lot. And I'm grateful that I did have to do that because it built the work ethic and the desire to have a clean house, which I do as an adult. This is a game called Whack-A-Mole. And if you haven't played it before, the objective is every time a thing pops up, a mole pops up, you're supposed to hit it on the head with this big rubber mallet. But what I learned and why I refer to this is because I think as a business owner and as a CEO, many of us can refer to Whack-A-Mole as how it feels like we're running our business. Every time we have a new problem that pops up, we try to take the mallet and we hit it. And that mole goes away, that problem is gone, and another mole pops up and we hit that one. And then another mole pops up. And we go through this process of feverishly trying to hit every single mole. Except here's the thing. You can't win this game. There's no person that is the Whack-A-Mole champion. Well, there may be a Whack-A-Mole champion if you are. Sorry, I didn't know. But it's not a game that once you reach that level, you win. And that's it. So that's kind of like our business. And if we don't realize it, excuse me, many of us could be playing the game of Whack-A-Mole, and it doesn't matter how many moles we hit, there will always be another mole, whether that falls under your operations or your sales or your marketing. Sometimes these appear as what we think are problems, and they're not problems, they're just inhibitors. But we will always just be solving the problem if we don't solve the broader uh, core of the problem. And Whack-A-Mole might appear, and these problems might appear in your business like, I don't have a clear strategy. I don't have an end game. Like, I don't know what my end game is. I've never thought about my end game. I don't have a number. Like, what's your number to get out of your business? If somebody came and wrote a number on a napkin, what's your number? Do you need more traffic? Do you need more visibility? Do you need more customers? Do you need more eyeballs? They are all moles, all of these things. I don't have time. I don't have resources. I don't have people. I don't have money. All of these things are just more moles that pop up that we have to solve as business owners. And if you think about it, it can just be exhausting. But we don't want to be in a business game that we can never win. So that is why we're going to talk about how we might not be playing the right game. Whack-A-Mole is not the right game. There's so many problems that we can solve in our business, but if we understand what the foundations are, we can have a solid foundation and solve many problems or hit many moles on the head at the same time. And these are things that if you get them right, and not even right, if you get them better, then these will be the strategic things that help you grow and scale. And you don't have to fix them all. You don't have to work on improving them all. You just have to start with one. So let me explain what these foundations are. And these are things that if you solve them in sequential order, then selling and marketing becomes significantly easier. So let's talk about clarity. Clarity is something that many of us think we have, yet people don't know what you do, or people don't know how you can help. And even though I've done sales and marketing for a bunch of different people, I struggle with this. Like, I am my best worst enemy. And clarity is one of those things that it makes sense to us as the expert. It makes sense to us as the person that's done it for 20 years. But for someone that's just getting in or they're really struggling, it might not make sense for them. So, this is one of those things that if you understand how important clarity is, that can solve many different problems. And then we go to credibility. Credibility is, do people trust you? Do they trust that if they put their money on you, you're going to get them to the end? That you're going to make them look good, that you're going to make them successful in whatever that venture is that they're paying you to do. From there, we go to visibility. When people come to me and they say, I just need more customers, I need more people to get on my website. If I look at your website and I don't know what you do, then other people don't know what you do either. So we don't want to get more people there so they're confused. We want to be clear. We want to look credible. Then we're ready to get more people on your site, eyeballs in the game. And then from there, we're ready to scale. Scaling, sometimes we're ready from an operational standpoint, but we might not be ready from a process standpoint. We might not be ready from a team standpoint. So just because people say they want to grow and scale doesn't mean that you're actually ready to scale. I'm not saying that that's everyone, but we don't want to scale unless we can sustain that growth. So being able to scale is a step that we'll take after we get these other things down. So let's dive a little bit deeper. When we're talking about clarity, clarity doesn't just mean like on the headline of your website. Clarity could be your message, it could be your problem, it could be clarity on your solution, your offer, your pricing, your value. All of these things encompass clarity. Now, when you're at this point, a lot of people spend a lot of time engaging and posting and adding things on social media only for it to really not do anything. So, what I want you to start to think about is leveraging advertising to validate your assumptions, test your clarity, and learn how to get clearer or what works better. Why I say use advertising to learn is because most of us can afford a few $100 a month in our business. If you don't think you can't afford that or you can afford that, then I challenge you to look at how much time you're spending on the things that just aren't leading to sales. And sometimes we go down this path and we're like, I need a website, or wait, I need to do social media, or wait, I need to be present and I need to be known as the expert. Yes, 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 if it leads to sales. If it doesn't, I would challenge you to figure out how much time you're spending on these things and what is your time worth. So if you are billing at $150 an hour and you're spending 10 hours a month, then technically that's wasted $1,500 a month on things that just aren't working. And if it's not working, it doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean that you should be ashamed. You're learning what's not working, and there's value in that. But I want you to consider advertising to test and validate and learn. It's data, it's insight, and is incredibly invaluable or valuable, sorry, to your business. Okay, let me go over here. And then credibility. How did I get that open? Sorry, I'm trying to do two screens and sometimes it just doesn't work. Credibility. If you do this better or do this marginally well, it affects sales, marketing, it affects your bottom line because it builds rapport if you're credible. It builds trust, credibility, incredibility. It's kind of, they don't need to have that twice. But you know what else it does? It helps your customers feel seen and heard and understood. Now, when you're advertising at this phase, it should be for you to figure out what works, which messages lead to sales conversations, which posts or ads or videos or content leads to sales, to people getting on your website and to people purchasing. Credibility is not just you as a person or your organization as a company or brand. It could be the credibility of your product. It could be the credibility of your partners or your raw materials or whatever. Credibility extends well beyond just the organization. So if you get these things a little bit better or dialed in, then you can use advertising to figure out what is important to see or to say or to do that people trust you enough that they'll buy. And we're optimizing this step to sell when it comes to advertising. Let's talk about visibility. Visibility is how you reach and connect with people. And you don't want to do that until you know your message is clear, your value is clear, your product market fit is clear. You don't want to even do that until those things you're pretty confident are working. And you've learned that at scale because you spent some money to advertise. Even if you spend $300 a month, that's $5 a day, right? No, 150, right? Calculators and spell check has ruined my life. So if you spend $5 a day times 30 days is 150. If you spend 150 a day to get data, to understand what message works, what image works, what text works, which pages work, then you're learning how to sell better. You're learning how to market better. And you might be able to spend $150 and get that message in front of 1,000 people. It is going to take a very long time to get 1,000 people to your website for most businesses. Not everyone, but most businesses, 1,000 people a month. It's a lot of people. But you can do that in a month with advertising and test your message and test your problem and test your solution. So we're doing that so we're clear, so we're credible. So once we get visibility and we turn it up a notch, then our chances of selling and growing and funding our business go way up because we've validated and tested these other steps that come before the purchase. So visibility is really about how can we connect and reach the right people at the right time with the right message, with the right offer. And it sounds like a lot, but we want to position you as the solution. Now, when we're advertising at this phase, we're trying to advertise so we can scale. We want to see what works. We want to see at what point do we reach diminishing returns and we're like, okay, we're not making money on that. Then we want to know all that before we go into it. And finally, we get to scalability. Scalability fixes so many problems, but we're not yet ready for that until we know we have a proven process and a sales methodology that we can scale, that we have proven value to the market, that we have a proven message, that we have a proven product market solution fit. And at that point, we can look for partnerships, we can look for networks, associations, other ways to scale what we do beyond just advertising. But here is where we leverage advertising to scale. And it's not that we turn it on and we never look at it and it's this automatic money making machine. Can it be? It can. Is it going to always be that? No. We need to optimize and look for ways to improve. You're always going to have other people that come to the market. If you start to do really well, you will have tons of copycats. So we just want to make sure that when you're at this phase, you don't think that you're done. You always can optimize and improve things. And it doesn't have to be by 50%. If you look at something like increasing your sales by 2%, that's not significant. But what if you increased your sales by 2% and you also increased your conversions or your visibility by 10%? Well, you just increased your growth by 20%. So you could potentially choose one thing that you want to focus on per quarter, and do you want to get that metric better? It doesn't have to be all at once. It just has to be continuous improvement. So this is a book that I recommend for those of you who have not been on here before. I love to read and I love books, and this is one that could foundationally change your business. It's been around for a long time. EOS is the Entrepreneur Operating System. If you are a team of 2 to 10, then that's kind of the sweet spot for this book. You can still implement these things if you're less than 2 or it's just you, but you will have to hold yourself accountable and make sure that you are doing the things. Otherwise, you won't get the benefit from this book. It is game changing when it comes to setting your target, setting your vision, understanding your core values, hiring the right people based on the core values of your business. And this isn't core values that are like integrity, customer service. Like, these are core values that really mean something, and they are make or break for people. Either you have it or you don't, and you can learn it, but there are also people that don't want to learn things. So it can transform your business and allow you to take the people that thrive and are amazing in certain things and put them in the right seat, and also identify where you have gaps and weaknesses and fill those if they're preventing you from growing and reaching the next level. Highly recommend it. Okay, so your homework, and we are almost done. Look at me. It took me 9 weeks to be on schedule. Sorry. So what we're going to do is what I want to challenge you to do is I want you to assess your foundations honestly and openly. And I want you to start with clarity. And you can do this even if you just get clarity on your website. There's a lot of emphasis on websites, and that's fine if you're only online, and if you're e-commerce, then it's incredibly important. But you can do this thing called a 5-second test. So many of you may have heard that we have an attention span of 3 to 5 seconds. So you can go do a stranger 5-second website test. That means you do not ask your friends and family. You are asking a stranger. And you can simply say, "Hey, can I ask you for your help?" Most people, I know it might be shocking, will be like, "Oh, sure. I can help you." Maybe. I want to show you something. I'm working on my website and I can't get out of my own way. Can I show you my website just for a couple seconds and then just get your feedback? I've never had a person say no. And I typically go to like busy areas like coffee shops or co-working spaces or something like that. And I just ask them, and I go through a couple of people. I give them 5 seconds to look at the headline of my website. That is it. No scrolling, no like, "Oh, let me look at this page. 5 seconds. And then you take the laptop or your phone away and you say, "Can you answer any of these questions? What do I do? Who do I serve? or what's in it for me. They should get at least 2 out of 3 of those. It's short-term memory. They just looked at it literally 5 seconds ago. And if they can't answer those questions, at least 2 of the 3, you got work to do. And this shows up everywhere. Website is an easy example to wrap your head around, but it comes in what you say, how you introduce yourself when you talk to someone, what your elevator pitch is, what the description is about your product or your service. Like clarity and copy shows up everywhere. So start there. And once you've validated that your message is clear, your value is clear, your product is clear, your problem is clear, then you have my permission to move on. Or you can just skip to the next one. Don't go to scalability first or visibility first. You got to work on clarity, have to work on clarity first. Then credibility, almost as important as clarity. Get those 2 things right or better, and then you can move on to the next. So that's all I want you to do. Simple, right? Simple. Okay, let me see if we have any questions. I'm not paying attention. I'm just looking to see if we have questions. I don't see in oh, hold on. What recommendations do you have? Okay. I think I understand the question. How do you have clarity if you have multiple markets? I sell B2B. I have a user, an employee, HR. Okay. So I think if I understand the question, this person is selling. They have to get buy-in from an executive level. They sell B2B, but they often go into HR. So are you adding value for the HR person or are you adding value for the executive? The person that gets the value is really the employee. Well, yes and no. I would venture to say that the employee gets value, but I'm pretty sure that HR sees value if the employee gets value. And I'm pretty sure that the executive gets value if HR gets value. So it's almost so depending on who you go into and who knows the problem. I'm a big fan of solving a problem that someone knows they have and they have the money to solve it. I'm a bigger fan of solving a problem for a person that has that problem, that has the money to solve that problem, and has spent significant amount of time or a significant amount of money trying to solve it in other ways, and it hasn't worked. So if your value proposition is HR and you're like, we can transform employees, then the executive needs to understand what that means. So if it's a public company, there's data and research that ties directly back to employee morale affecting shareholder profitability. So understand what the value is in what you do for the people that have to say yes. If that's HR and you've got that nailed, but you're struggling when they go to get approval at the executive level, then you've got to figure out why the executive doesn't see the value in what you're doing. If you can tie it to a number, opportunity cost lost, or let me get off the slide, opportunity cost lost, or shareholder value, or increase in productivity. There's ways to have qualitative data and quantitative data. And don't forget that a lot of times we get caught up in the data and the logic, and we don't make decisions that way. We make emotional decisions and we justify it with logic after we've already made the decision. So if you can tie that back to emotion, which I know is hard for executives to connect it back to emotion. Um, but if you're dealing with HR, you kind of have to play the game with both. Like you have to appeal to their emotion and the value that's to them. And then you also have to appeal to the logical side of their brain that has to justify paying you. Does that make sense? If not, just post a question. Okay. We're going over, we're done. The other thing I want to say is if you are watching this after the live stream, welcome, no problem. But if you have a question, please make sure that you tag me in the comments because these will get lost in like the world of the web and live stream land and in news feeds. And I won't see a question after the fact unless you tag me. So if you have a question, please ask it in the comments, which will be here forever. And just make sure that you type an at sign before my name at Bethany, blah, blah, blah. And I'll get a message that I have a question or I've been tagged. But if you don't do that, I cannot guarantee I will see it and you don't get an answer. And I don't want you to be mad at me because you're like, you know what? I watched your thing and I asked a question. She said she would answer it and she didn't answer it. And I don't want you to feel like that. So I hope that everyone has a fantastic day. And it is Money Making May. So we are in the 5th month. And I challenge everybody to look at what you set for your 12-month goal. And if you are not 45% there, you got to hustle. We got to get on it. It's the 5th month. We've got 2 more months and half the year will be over. So thank you for joining. I'm so glad that you were here. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you guys next week for the last final. I won't see you. Hopefully you'll be here next week, and I will see a little eyeball and a number. That's it. All right. Bye.